Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you how to install the Golden Rovers accessory drive brackets. We have an alternator bracket here, a AC compressor and power steering bracket on the other side. This allows you to mount a GM alternator, Corvette power steering pump, and keep your Rover AC compressor intact. Let's get into it. Be sure to follow along with the written instructions too. If I ever make any changes to the brackets, I can't update the video, but I will update this page, so be sure to check. Let's start off with the easy one, the alternator bracket. Make sure you have all your parts. You should have two identical brackets, one grooved pulley with this doodad, a beefy tensioner, and a bag full of hardware and tubes. You should have four 85mm long bolts. We're going to grab two of those. You should have three of the longer tube. We're going to grab two of those, two washers, and one bracket. We're going to put a washer on each of those two bolts. Next, we're going to insert the bolts into the bracket, one here and one here. Flip that over, and we're going to add the two tubes we set aside. All right, hold that together, and we're going to install that on this bolt hole and this one down here. Like that. Top one and the bottom one. You can use the 17mm socket to drive them, but don't fully tighten them just yet. Keep them a little loose. Just like that. Okay, this might be the more tricky part. If the tensioner came with a bolt, remove it. We're not going to use the bolt that came with the tensioner. Take the longest bolt. It should be like this. Put one washer on the bolt. Put that bolt in your tensioner. You should have this part. Add that to your tensioner. It's a spacer. Now take the other bracket, line it up with the first one, and you see these three holes? That's where your tensioner goes. The bolt goes in here, and the tensioner alignment pins go here. Just like that. That's our assembly. Now, you're going to take one of the shorter tubes and put it on there. Then you're going to insert the bolt into this hole, the same hole on the other bracket. All right. You're going to take the final long tube. So it should be looking like this. You're going to take the last long tube and you're going to sneak it in there. All right, gotta get everything back the way it was. Okay. All right, so we got tensioner, spacer, one bracket, short tube, another bracket, long tube. And I'll thread in that longer bolt now. Okay, threaded but not super tightened yet. The next step involves the grooved pulley. This should have come with a bolt. You will have to remove this bolt. You might have to tap it out because we will not be using the bolt. Instead, we'll be using the 120mm bolt. This is the second longest one that came with the kit. Put a washer on it. Put it in the groove pulley from the front. We want to keep this doohickey thing on the back. Add this spacer to it. That's your assembly. So we're going to put the pulley in this hole. We're going to slide that last spacer behind it. And finally, we're going to fasten that with a nut and the washer on the back of it. So if I take you around, this is what the assembly looks like. Pulley, spacer, bracket, tube, bracket, washer, nut. Now the alternator finally comes into play. The alternator is like its own spacer. It will go here. So take your last two remaining 85mm bolts, put a washer on each, right? And you can do one at a time. Take your alternator, put it where it should be, and get a bolt to go through, and then do the same with the bottom bolts, lifting the alternator as needed. And you're gonna finish that with two washers and two lock nuts in the back to hold the alternator. That's what that looks like. The bolt goes through the alternator and you finish with the washer and the nut. Same on the bottom there. Now with a 17mm socket and 17mm wrench, we're going to tighten everything down, starting with the two first bolts we put in, which are between the two brackets. So tighten those down with the wrench. On second thought, maybe tightening those two bolts sooner would have been easier, actually. Maybe after putting in the tensioner, you can tighten those two bolts. I'll tackle the tensioner next. Okay, not too tight, you're going into aluminum, just snug. Okay, with the bracket installed and tightened, you will find you have one piece of hardware left. This M8 bolt. This bolt is meant to go here. This allows you to put your ground cable or ground strap here. Now let's move on to the AC and power steering bracket. This involves quite a bit more parts. First you'll have this. This is a coil relocation bracket, so we can move the coils back a little out of the way of the bracket. You're going to need a Corvette, say 2006 Corvette power steering pump. You can look it up that way. This is also known as a GM Type 2 power steering pump. You have to get the stock style. Don't get a super fancy one with AN fittings or whatever. Just the stock pump that has the high pressure fitting on this side and the low pressure return facing down. And this high pressure fitting is exactly the same fitting that Land Rover used going into the Land Rover power steering pump. So this pump will be a direct fit. We will begin by tackling the coil relocation bracket. Okay, and remove it. Now let's grab our coil relocation bracket like this, in this orientation with the studs facing up. And we're going to place that there. Look through your hardware kit. You can lay this out on the table or something and find the three M6 bolts. The three M6 bolts look like this. You'll know you have the right bolts if they thread in properly. Any other bolts will not thread in. And now snug them up reasonably with a 10mm socket. Test fitting the coil relocation bracket. you might find that it doesn't sit flat because of this plastic sleeve. These coil brackets come in different shapes and sizes. If you have this plastic um, thing that holds the wiring harness, you may need to just remove it. Plenty of coil brackets don't come with that, so it's not strictly required. There, slide it out and remove it. Now your bracket should sit fine. I lost the footage somehow, but you have to cut the corner of the coil bracket so that it doesn't hit the AC compressor bracket. And that's what I did. So, cut off this piece, filed it nice, and I might give it a little spray of paint to keep it from rusting on that edge. Look through your hardware baggie again, and you'll find these 10-32 bolts. That's going to hold our coils onto the relocation bracket. So thread one of them in, and the rest. And drive them with an 8mm socket. Plug them back in. Okay, finished with the coil relocation. Now go through your hardware and locate this short M10 bolts. Put a washer on it. Now take the back bracket facing this way, not this way, this way. Put this short M10 bolt down here, and we're going to thread it down there. And thread it in loosely. Okay. Now if you sort through your tubes, you will find that 3 of them are longer than the rest. Grab those 3. Yep, these are the 3 long ones. Go through your hardware kit again and grab 3 of the M10 by 120 bolts and put a washer on each of them. Now take the front bracket facing this way, not this way, this way. Grab those 3 bolts and put them here, here, and here. 1, 2, and 3, like that. Try and hold on to that and slide on the 3 long tubes that you identified earlier. Maybe it's easier to do these one at a time instead of all 3 at once like I'm doing. Yeah, it's probably easier to do them one at a time, but I'm gonna make this work. Okay, get the thread started. There we go. Gonna put them in without fully tightening yet. Okay, now grab the shortest tube and you should be able to wedge it in the back bracket back here. The short tube goes in here. Now find the second shortest tube, and that wedge should fit snugly but comfortably in here. Okay. Now find the longest bolt that came with this bracket. It should be 180 millimeters long, and put a washer on it. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take this assembly and you're going to hold it here, and you're going to take this long bolt and you're going to go through the front bracket, through this bracket, through the second shortest tube, through the back bracket with the short tube in there. I'll show you. This is what that long bolt should look like. Going through the front bracket, through this, through a tube, through the back bracket with a tube, and out the end. And we're going to finish that with a washer and a nut. So a washer and lock nut. Okay, on this side of the bracket, you're going to find the last 120 millimeter bolt, add a washer to it, the last tube. You're going to lift this bracket up, wedge that tube here, and you're going to insert the bolt from the front through the bracket, through the tube, and out the back here. So you see back here, our bolt sticking out. We're going to put a washer and the lock nut right there. Washer and lock nut. Now we're going to want to tighten everything down, but before you fully tighten down, grab a straight edge and make sure that these holes are all on the same plane. So these look good together, and these, just wrangle them so they're as close as possible to being flat and level. And then you're going to tighten. Use a 17 millimeter socket and wrench. I'm going to get them almost tight. Do a final check with my ruler. Okay, good. And then final tightening. Same back here. Final tightening. Let's not forget the little M10 bolt that was down here from the very beginning. And the 3 that are here, we're going to tighten those now. Let's install the smooth pulley next. It should have come with a bolt. We're going to put it in the threaded hole that's at the bottom here. Start it by hand and finish with a 15 millimeter socket. It's aluminum thread, so don't go crazy. Now you're going to need your power steering pump, the short M8 bolt that came in the kit, and put a washer on it. The pump installs like this, and we're going to hold it in place first with the threaded hole because it's the easiest one. Next, you will need 2 M8 nuts and 4 washers. And for bolts, you will need 2 of these M8 bolts. In the early kits, I've included 2 M8 by 80 bolts and 4 M8 by 90 bolts. And the 90 length ones are going to be used to install the AC compressor. However, in future kits, I think I'm just going to include 6 M8 by 90 length bolts so that they're all the same and there's no confusion. But if you have one of the first batch of kits, make sure you grab the M8 by 80. So, put a washer on them. Insert them into the through holes. And on the back, put a washer and the nuts. Washer and nut. Use a 13 millimeter socket and 13 millimeter wrench to tighten down all 3 bolts with the lock nut in the back. Now's the time to install the power steering pulley. This is a press-on pulley. You have to be absolutely sure you install it in the correct orientation. You see the 2 sides are different. On this side, there is sort of a flange that you can grab onto. This is used to remove the pulley. So you need to make sure that this special flange is on the outside. If you put it on the inside, it will be impossible to remove the pulley and it won't be aligned properly. You will need a special tool for this. This is a power steering pump pulley set by OTC 4530. Any generic power steering pulley installer will do. It's a very similar concept to the harmonic balancer. There's an installer tool and a remover tool. I guess I'm only going to show you the installer tool today, but it should look like this. The idea is, so thread the doohickey all the way in. Place the pulley, you could tap it in place if you want. Now thread in the stud with that doohickey on until it bottoms out. You don't have to tighten it. Okay, once you feel it bottomed out, then you bottom out the doohickey here. I use 2 wrenches, one to hold the stud and the ratcheting wrench to tighten the doohickey onto the stud. So I hold the stud and I turn and keep going until I feel the pulley bottoming out completely and I can't go anymore. There I am. At that point, loosen the doohickey first. There we go. And you should be able to loosen the stud easily by hand, assuming you didn't over tighten it. That's it. The pulley flange here should be flush with the shaft of the pump. We're pretty much done here because the only thing left to do is install the AC compressor up above. But because my AC compressor is attached in the vehicle, I can't really show you until I get this engine in the vehicle. But I've got another completed swap, so I can kind of go there and show you. Basically, the way the AC compressor goes in is you should have 4 bolts left, right? The 2 back bolts, I already have a press fit nut for you there. That makes the installation really easy because you place the AC compressor and then you just put the bolt in and you don't need to slide the nut. Right? So these 2 holes have a captive nut on the other side, making the install really easy. However, the front 2 holes do not, and that's because these holes are a little bigger because your AC compressor should have 2 locating pins in the front. In my case, I only have 1. So if you're like me and you're missing 1 or both of these locating pins, go back to your AC compressor bracket, the Rover one, and you'll find the pin right there. So you'll have to tap that pin out, extract it, and put it back on the AC side. You need to get that out. Those pins go in here to align the AC compressor properly. Then you will bolt it on and use a lock nut on that side. So here's an example of it already installed, right? Just 4 bolts. The front 2 are using a lock nut down there, and the back 2 were just, I put a washer there, but those just go in and you can start threading them in. You don't need to slide a nut, which makes it very convenient. So that's the gist of it, but you might be wondering, what's this thing that came with my hardware kit? Let me show you. The position of the AC compressor is a little bit different than it was in the Rover. It used to be up here a little bit. Now it's a little lower. And what happens is one of these hoses will take a path like this and it can get kinked here. To avoid it getting kinked, I made this little donut for you. You put it there and you zip tie the hose around the donut so it takes a nice round turn and doesn't kink. You just zip tie it in there in the center and wrap it back with that heat shield. Assuming you purchase both the alternator and AC power steering brackets, it should have come with a belt that is already of the right size. Routing the belt is pretty straightforward. Around the harmonic balancer like this. Back and around the smooth pulley like that. Around the power steering. In theory, around the AC over here. Back down under the water pump. Over the groove pulley. Around the alternator of the tensioner. And obviously I don't have the AC here. Normally the AC would pull this belt up like that. And the AC pulley goes here, and that's your belt routing. Pull the tensioner down, get your belt in, let it go. That's it. That's all there is to it. So that's it. That's how you install the Golden Rovers accessory brackets onto an LS. In a future video, I will show you in more detail how to install the AC compressor once I have this engine in the vehicle. But for now, hopefully I've given you enough information that you can do it. If you need more details, take a look at the written instructions on the webpage. I will link that below, where I have some pictures showing exactly how to install the AC compressor. All right, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.